Thank you, Dale, for that wonderful meditation and for getting us centered and for the great music that David and Jody provide to us. And for everyone being here, it's great to see the familiar faces and some new faces for our classic unity. It's my great privilege. Today was my day to give you the message, but I turned this over to somebody else, and it's such a great privilege to be able to introduce this. I was searching out some books for future book studies for our church, and in the Unity Journal, there was a review on People's Anonymous, 12 Steps to Heal Your Life. And I thought, wow, what a great book to introduce to our congregation, and then to see what direction God wants us to go with this, because this is used in the 12-step principles in A Course of Miracles. Well, miraculously, in the process of searching that out, I learned that the author was going to be here in San Diego to speak on Sunday at Unity San Diego, and then he's doing a workshop on Monday evening. And I happened to get his business card, sent him an email, and he called me that night, and I said, you know, it would be wonderful if you could come and speak to our church to share your message, your vision, and how this manifested in your life. And we really look forward to it, and it is such a great pleasure to introduce to you today Lane W., the author of People's Anonymous, The 12 Steps to Heal Your Life. Lane?
We come in a pair, actually. Hi, everybody. My name is Lane, and I happen to be a recovering alcoholic. Y'all are supposed to say, hi, Lane. There you go. Now I feel a little more at home. So there's a bit of a ringing. Is that just in my ears, or is that also in yours? Okay, so this is my beautiful son, Lex.
Hi.
Everybody want to say hi to Lex? You can tell that he's very shy, like his father. He just kind of hides. Okay, sweet love. Go have a seat with Mom. So good day, everyone. It is a privilege and an honor to be here. Thank you so much. So yes, I'm afraid that I consider myself the co-author of People's Anonymous. I feel strongly that the universe wrote this book actually through me rather than by me. I assure you, I am not a writer. As a matter of fact, if you want to know what I really think, I kind of grew up in Unity. Well, I'm still growing up. I heard somebody say the other day the first 50 years of my childhood were the hardest. So I'm still in the, somewhere around there. But I did. I had and just a little bit of, we like to share a little bit about the journey to here. I think that has value. So I grew up in an interesting home, though. I had an older sister that was a fundamental Christian. I had a father that was an atheist, and I had a mom that was a metaphysician. and so, we were just a little confused. I basically had a, sister that said there's only one God, and then a dad that says there's not one, and a mom that said, oh, there's a bunch of them. So anyway, and I was invited to Unity at a young age, and I was introduced to a man named Jack Boland. I don't know if you folks have had a chance to meet Jack or be influenced, but Jack Boland was one of the largest influences on my life. And I really think that he actually wrote this book. He's been on the other side for a little while. But Jack was always trying to bring the 12 steps to the world. I mean, he really was. He was the Unity minister of the Church of Today in Warren, Michigan. And he was also in recovery, which I want to talk a little bit about what that term may really mean here in a minute. But if you noticed, in pretty much all of his talks, he would somehow covertly seep the 12 steps, into his little message, trying to just, not wanting to come up and, just say it right up front, but just got to slide it in. So we launched the book on Jack's 25th memorial of the day that he passed, which was March the 4th. Interesting day. Jack's message was always, no matter what you're doing, move forward. And he actually made his transition on March 4th, which was kind of interesting. I don't know if you know it, and I had no idea. I just asked, the universe to speak and make me a hollow bone, and whatever comes out, that's kind of what comes out. But I didn't know we were going to talk so much about Jack. But Jack was an interesting fellow, too. He had his funeral prior to passing. I don't know if y'all knew that, but he wanted to know what everyone was going to say. And so he had been diagnosed with cancer, and they had given him a short time to live. And he, kind of made peace with the transition. And so he said, I want to be there. And so he sat over in the corner while I think Larry Gatlin and Wayne Dyer and all the, greats came and spoke about Jack, and he just sat over there smiling. Kind of an interesting piece. So anyway, we're going to talk a little bit about People's Anonymous today and what this is. First of all, I want to address something that is very important for the folks that are here or those that are in the audience as we tape this. I introduced myself as Lane W. to honor the traditions of Alcoholics Anonymous. I infer in the book, and I share in public, that the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous have been instrumental in the healing of my life beyond my wildest dream. And since I infer that, one of the traditions is that we maintain personal anonymity at the level of press, radio, and films. And that's good, because let me share with you why. For as far as AA is concerned, if somebody gains some notoriety and they're running around the planet and all of a sudden they get popular and then next thing you know they get drunk, that could kind of look bad. And so in working with AA World Service, which I worked extensively with to bring this book, and also the Foundation for Inner Peace, they simply requested that I speak because they know, we all know, that to bring a movement and a book and a piece of work to the world, there's a lot of work involved in that. And they knew that someone had to do some, traveling and sharing and planting seeds, and they just asked that I speak as Lane W. Okay, so just wanted to let everybody know what that's about. So the preface of People's Anonymous says, "Welcome to People's Anonymous. Herein lies one of the most profound spiritual healing recipes ever entrusted to the human race. This 12-step technology has the capacity to heal your life beyond anything you have previously imagined. Millions are currently living happy, joyous, and free by simply applying this program to their daily lives. We consider the 12-step recipe outlined in People's Anonymous to be the spiritual alchemy of the 21st century. It transforms the lives of those who are willing to follow the directions precisely into gold." That's kind of bold, isn't it? Is that a little bold? I think that's kind of bold. What's interesting is one of the theses of People's Anonymous is that every generation from the beginning of time is entrusted with a process for awakening. Every generation. Maybe one generation it was called the Tao, maybe another generation it was called the Way. In this generation, it just happens to be called the 12 Steps. And I think it's also equally humorous that it was initially entrusted to a group of drunks. That's kind of funny. Oh my God, what was the universe thinking? Let's give this to a bunch of drunks and see how they do with it. Which, is something that in the beginning of this conversation, it's important that we talk about. Because even though the 12 steps may have initially been entrusted to a group of alcoholics, what the world has proven is that they have the capacity to heal the human life at a causational level, regardless or not if you're alcoholic or addict or just, and that's the beauty about People's Anonymous. You know what People's Anonymous proposes? If you're a person, you're in. You don't have to have a subtitle. You don't have to have a special interest group. All you have to have is a willingness to heal your life at a causational level. Because I'll tell you what, guys, it's hard, for us alcoholics to imagine, but God does love the rest of his kids. I know that's kind of crazy to imagine. But could it be that this recipe, there are millions and millions and millions of people on the planet like myself. My beautiful friends, I was homeless just a few years ago. Lived on the streets for years. This month, I celebrate 10 years clean and sober and conscious. And y'all are clapping for God. I had very little to do with it. Well, my piece was this. I finally ran out of bright ideas. And I finally became willing to follow directions that made absolutely no sense to me, but I was willing to do them anyway. Which, as we've shared, this is a combination between the 12 steps and A Course in Miracles. How many of you folks have ever heard of the Course? If you'd raise your hand real quickly. So I've studied the Course for years, and we study the Course for life, just for the record, but I have read all 669 pages of the text. I have worked a lesson a day. It took me 2 years. I've read the entire teacher's manual. And just so you know, the Course, at the introduction to the lessons, says the same thing. It says, these ideas you may not like. As a matter of fact, you may actively disagree with them. But if you want to have this experience, you got to do it anyway. Did any of you guys ever read that piece? It's actually in there. It's really like, oh my God. And so the steps, this process for awakening, that, there are, a wide variety of humans on the planet, We in People's Anonymous believe that this is just the screen and our mind is the projector. And if we don't like the movie we're watching called our life, scratching on the screen's not going to help. We have to heal our life at a causational level. And people come into People's Anonymous when they have grown weary of rearranging the seats on the Titanic. That's what I was doing. I was busy rearranging the seats on the Titanic. As soon as I would fix one thing, it would pop up somewhere else. There are probably some folks that aren't too happy that I've now opened up this powerful way of life to everyone. But it's important for me to note here that the founder of Alcoholics Anonymous, Bill Wilson himself, Bill W., wrote in the big book, the foreword to the first edition, these are his words. And besides, we are sure that our way of living has its advantages for all. So I just want to be honest, like right up front, this is not my idea. Matter of fact, this process of trying to open this beautiful way of life for everyone, we've thought about and we've talked about for years. I mean, there's 188 different 12-step groups right now. There's OA, BA, CA, IO, oh my God, A. There's so many. So why PA? Why another A or whatever? There's a chapter in this book called Why PA, and it says, People's Anonymous has come to the world to remove all degrees of separation in the 12-step movement of transformation. Prior to PA, one could gain access to the 12 steps through a variety of different special interest groups. As beautiful and powerful as these individual gatherings are, they were born in an atmosphere of separation, believing that you needed to identify with a specific form of dis-ease for healing. PA proposes we all struggle with some form of the human condition, that we are all in this together, and that our interests do not lie separate, nor does our healing. My friends, that's why I'm at Unity. I mean, that's why we're here today. To me, that is the essence of Unity. To remove all degrees of separation and to recognize that we are all in this together. So, what are these steps? That's probably a good idea anyway, if I have any idea. Is there anyone in the audience familiar with the 12 steps? Just raise your hand if you're a little familiar with them. Okay, very good. A few people didn't, that's... So how did this come about? I love to tell this little story. I should have looked at the time when I got up here. Do we know 12-ish? Okay. Say again? I got that part. I didn't know where I started though. So I love to tell this story. So and this is in the introduction. I was on a little island in the Caribbean. I'm a beach lover. Jack also was an ocean lover. We consider ourselves palm tree people, so there's that. So I'm on this little island in the Caribbean, and we're on this little cruise ship, and my beautiful wife and my sweet little boy playing in the sand, and I'm in this hammock, and I'm writing in my journal. And I write in my journal, and all of a sudden, it felt like, now it didn't actually happen, of course, but it felt like something took my hand. And I wrote, Lane, please open up this information to the rest of my kids. Thanks, Dad. And then right after that, this lady that we had met on the cruise ship sat with us, beautiful woman, in her late 70s, traveled all over the world, 10 times. She, shared with us her travels, spoke many languages fluently. One of those very fascinating, interesting humans, and for whatever reason, she was hanging with us, so we enjoyed that. So anyway, she came and sat next to us, and we just happened to be talking about our lives and her life, and my wife and I mentioned that we were in recovery, and we mentioned the 12 steps. And she looked at me with the most sincere and genuine look and said, "What is that?" And my first thought, well, ma'am, they're the reason that I'm sitting on this beach instead of being in a maximum security prison. But I thought, well, that may be a little TMI, too much information. So I fortunately just said, well, ma'am, they're the process by which my wife and I healed our life beyond anything we could have imagined. And she was enthralled. She spent the next hour and a half, maybe two, interrogating me. I mean, literally asking, what about that step? And what is that step? And how do you do that amends? And how do you do that? What's that fifth step about? And that amends piece, does that mean I have to call my ex-husband? You know, it was one of my favorite ones. Do I have to make amends to him? Oh no. You know, and I got back to the cruise ship, and I realized what Dad wanted me to do. And that is finally make these 12 steps, this process of healing, available to everyone. Because there are millions that may have heard the 12 steps, but genuinely do not have any idea what they really are. And let me assure you that when I first encountered them, I didn't know what they were either. You know, I got sent in the short bus over to the bingo parlor, and there was a bunch of alcoholics in this basement, and the smoke, you could cut it with a knife, and they were talking about prohibition and running whiskey, and I thought I had died and gone to hell. I mean, I really did. I was like, this has got to be hell. You know, this can't be fun. You know, I had no idea that these old people had been entrusted with one of the most powerful healing spiritual technologies ever. Because as we said before, my beautiful friends, there are millions and millions of lives that have been transformed by this work. David Hawkins, the author of Power versus Force, another one of my mentors. This is crazy. But he had this gift to calibrate different things. Thoughts, images, movements. The 12 steps calibrate as one of the highest spiritual calibrations on the planet. I mean, that's crazy. I mean, I was like, oh my God, really? I can't even fathom that. A couple of facts. There have been over 30 million big books of Alcoholics Anonymous sold. There are more than 114,000 groups in over 170 nations. Time magazine named the AA Big Book as one of the 100 most influential books since 1923. The Library of Congress has designated the AA Big Book as one of the 88 books that have most shaped America. While the impact of the AA Big Book is enormous, it appeals to only 10% of the human race. What about the remaining 90%? So that's where People's Anonymous comes in. And so the steps are a process of honesty, humility, transparency, restitution, and service. That's really it. You can sum up the 12 steps in 6 words: trust God, clean house, and help others. Nobody likes step 1. Let me just tell you right now. This is like, oh my God. I do not want to admit I am powerless and that my life is unmanageable. Oh my God. The ego despises that. It's interesting too, because in unity, there's always been a conflict between the I am statement and adding anything behind that, such as, I'm an alcoholic. And yet, Jack Boland was able to articulate at Unity Village in a way that I could not even come close, that actually for the alcoholic to admit his personal powerlessness is the greatest statement of power he could make. And I can't explain it. But I can tell you this, it wasn't until I became hopeless that I got some real hope. And I can't explain that, but I had to be hopeless. And so this this process of, and let me just, let me save you as many years of struggle. My sister, my sweet, beautiful Christian sister, never been to a meeting in her life. About a year ago now, she was diagnosed with cancer. And then the moment the doctor looked in her eyes and gave her the diagnosis, she got step 1. I mean it, and I don't say that lightly. That's the hard way to get it. But let me promise you, she knew she was powerless and that she, in and of herself, could not manage this thing. And so, what's so funny, guys? The longer that we stay conscious or sober, whatever you want to call it, and guess what? You guys are so lucky. I am so jealous. In People's Anonymous, you can still drink. I'm like, oh my God, y'all got it going on, man. I am so jealous. I don't even get to do that. But, because really, if alcohol is not, see, guys, alcohol was never the problem. It was never the problem. The longer we stay sober, we realize alcohol was never the problem. It was actually the solution. And what's interesting is all of us have the things we use to treat the problem. What is the problem? The problem is the internal spiritual malady that we all suffer from, that the Course in Miracles refers to as the only problem. The illusion of separation from our source. I just happen to treat mine with booze. I promise you I can come to your house and I can help you find what you treat yours with. I mean, I'm just saying. I bet you I can find it. I don't. It may be food. It may be sex. It could be money. It could be cleaning. It can be many things. So, the good news is, if you're tired of treating it and watching it pop up over here, and then over here, and then over here, the Course has a beautiful line. It says, I am as God created me. When I first read that, I went, not even close. But, that's funny. Oh my God, really? I am as God created me. So if you look at your life, and if in every area of your life you are as God created you, you don't need this. You really don't. But if you look at your life and you see areas that you are not showing up as God created you, allow me to guarantee you something. I've been working with this, y'all, since 1984. I've been involved in this process of working the 12 steps and watching them work. I can guarantee you that if you're willing to follow the directions and do the work, it will heal you at a causational level. And like the Course in Miracles says, it will remove the blocks to the awareness of love's presence, which is our natural inheritance. But let me assure you, it is work. I mean, it is. This isn't something that most people wake up one day and go, yeah, I want to do that. This is something that, I love the way the Course starts out. It says, this is a Course in Miracles. It is a required course. Free will means only you can establish, free will does not mean you can establish the curriculum. It means only that you can elect what you want to take at a given time. Same. Same. This process for the 12 steps and this in another next generation it'll be called something else. But in this generation, we are now all invited to do some work. And guys, can you imagine any other time it was needed more? I mean, really, we got some crazy stuff going on right now, y'all. Now, I love the 10th step. It says, continue to take my inventory, and when I'm wrong, promptly admit it. Not to continue to take your inventory, and when you're wrong, promptly show it to you. Which is that's the way I used to work the steps. But now I look here. Okay, we're kind of running out of time. So I had no idea we were going to do that. But anyway, hope y'all were entertained. That's what matters. Just so you know, the PA movement, these are just some updates real quick. We have meetings. Guys, okay, look, I can land anywhere in the world, anywhere. And I can call intergroup, and I can plug into an AA meeting, and I can walk in, and I have instant family and friends. And we have that in Unity, don't get me wrong, we do. But it's not the same. There's something so magical that happens in the 12-step gatherings. I mean, you hear people talking openly about stuff that most people have never even admitted to themselves, much less openly. There is something that happens in the gatherings, because just like this is one person talking and everyone else listening. That's not what's happening in the gatherings. In the meetings, everyone shares. And Spirit has the opportunity to speak through everyone. And it's amazing. And so the vision of People's Anonymous is 1,000 points of light. We desire for People's Anonymous, just like Alcoholics Anonymous, to be all over the world where anyone, anywhere can come in and sit down and do some work and heal their life and become that which they're created. So currently, we have meetings in Austin, we have them in Miami, Florida, we have them in Boulder, Colorado, and this coming Monday night, we're starting the first Southern California meeting of People's Anonymous, and that will be held at the Unity of San Diego. It's at 7 p.m., 3770 Altadena Avenue. And I'm going to quote you Edwene Gaines real quick. I don't know if y'all met her, but she is a woman of power. I love her. So she says, you may think you have other plans Monday night. Check with Spirit. You may be being rerouted. We need you. We need you to come Monday night. If you're interested in doing this work and help starting this movement, we really need you. We need you to come. If you have experience with the 12 steps, we need you to come. We need people that are willing to chair. All I'm doing is going around planting seeds. This is a completely nonprofit movement. Matter of fact, I've put large sums of my own money into this, but it's not my money. It's God's money. And when I got here, I had no money. And so everything that I've received is a gift. And so all we're doing now is going around planting these little seeds, trying to get this little movement started. I'll tell you another quick story, just real quick. You know, AA in the beginning struggled. And PA is just getting started, and just little bitty meetings here and there. And they didn't know if it was going to make it. And then somebody got wind of the movement of AA that happened to be a writer for the Saturday Evening Post. I don't know if y'all know that story, but and they did an article about AA in the Saturday Evening Post. And that changed our world. I heard a man one time speaking at a conference, an AA conference, say, the 12 steps may be part of the salvation of the human race. And I thought, that's pretty arrogant. That's just what I thought. And then I thought about it. So my friends, if you have friends, influencers, people that we can offer a book to and share this beautiful way of life with, that might be willing to help bring this to the world, please let me know. Let's see if we have forgotten anything. peoplesanonymous.com, if you want to follow the movement, just go to peoplesanonymous.com, and there is a meeting page, and as the meetings grow throughout the world, you'll be able to just go to peoplesanonymous.com and click the meeting link, and you'll be able to find a meeting close to you. So I think I've pretty much used my time. It is such an honor and privilege to be here with you guys. Thank you so much for having me. Namaste. Last but not least, we have a little book signing out, and we brought some books in the foyer after the service. Thank you.